Sometimes people ask me, Camps, why do you bother making these long-ass videos that not a lot of people watch? And I'm always like, hey, mind your own business. But like, why do you do anything? Why do you play a video game? Why do you eat ice cream? Why watch a movie? Why paint your nails? I don't know why it's so hard for some people to believe that I like making videos. I don't care if they don't make money or if no one watches them. I like fixating on a topic for weeks, even months sometimes, and then just putting all that knowledge out there, even if it's useless knowledge. And no knowledge is more useless than the one in this series of videos. Actually, no, scratch that. I think some of this knowledge might be useful. If you're like me, I am the kind of person who sees pretty art and reblogs it on Tumblr, and then someone messages me and they're like, hey, do you know you just reblogged some Cuphead incest fetish fan art? And I'm like, ah, fudge. No, but seriously, that has happened, and I do think all of this is not completely useless. I watched Anna after finding out about it here and loved it. I also rewatched Dr. Horrible and wow, that did not hold up as well as I remembered. Anyways, long intro short, yes. More sexy people iceberg chart. If you have no idea what a sexy person is or an iceberg chart is, I recommend you watch the first part of this video, and if you do, but still haven't watched it for some reason, don't come here asking where Stan's Undertale or anyone who was in that previous video is. Just go watch that. This is part 2 of a 4-part series of the Tumblr Sexyman Iceberg Explained after all. There's important context regarding this video over there. I do want to restate some stuff. I'm gonna be using the Tumblr Sexyman and Tumblr Sexywomen fandom wikis or the Sexypedias for most of this. Some are not in them, so if I get anything wrong or I'm missing information, feel free to correct me or add to it in the comments nicely. I'm only human and I'm trying my best. Also, a few disclaimers. I don't think all of these are sexy men, I'm just following the chart. I don't understand why some of them are in the list, to be honest. There may be some major spoilers, so if you see a character from something you're planning on consuming and don't want spoilers, just be safe and skip ahead. Oh yeah, and a lot of the characters you will see in this list are canonly minors. I am personally not comfy with the sexification of minors, so I'm just here to document the phenomenon. I don't encourage it. Let's begin. William Afton / Purple Guy. Class Catter. William Afton is the main antagonist from the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. He's literally a bunch of purple pixels, and yet he was turned into a sexy man. He has a British accent and sister location, he's a father, he's purple. These are all sexy man characteristics. There's also the Rebornica AU that depicted him as a completely purple man in a night guard uniform, ponytail, and light stubble. This was before he got any kind of canon description. So he was known as Vincent in this AU. This is the most popular depiction of the character though. In the graphic novel, he actually looks like this. Some of his tropes are Dill, Feral Scientist, and Purple. Tony the Talking Clock. Class Catter. Tony is the main antagonist of the second installment of Don't Hug Me I'm Scared, a web series. Fans began making humanized art of him. They saw a clock and made it a twink, turned into a dapper British blue-skin emo-hair sexy freak of nature. I hope you know those aren't my words. He was shipped with the villain from the first video, Sketchbook or Notepad, who was turned into a Tim Burton type character. This is known as Padlock. They were drawn either dancing or kissing while stabbing each other or having people die around them. Can't make this shit up. Among his archetypes we have twink humanization, dominating, and knife murder. Sketchbook, Class Catter. I'm sure you saw this one coming. Sketchbook is the antagonist of the first episode of Don't Hug Me I'm Scared. They are shown to be a teacher singing about how to be creative to the protagonist until the song devolves into something violent and grotesque. Sketchbook is non-binary and it was popular to humanize them with rainbow hair and, as I mentioned before, a Tim Burton type character. Among their archetypes as sexy people, we have knife murder, humanization, and villain. Bill Cipher, Class Catter. A cornerstone sexy man, Bill is the main antagonist of the animated TV show Gravity Falls. His simplified appearance and eclectic personality have inspired many a humanization of him. Bill is a demon that looks like the Eye of Providence and is voiced by the show's creator, Alex Hirsch. He's often portrayed as a tall, thin white man with black and yellow hair and an eye patch. There's also an AU version created by fans called Reverse Falls, where all characters' roles and personalities are altered. A you build is named Will, and is a sad blue version who is also humanized as a skinny white twink. Some of his archetypes include urban legend aesthetic, eldritch, and one-winged angel. The Imposter, class Catter. The Imposter is one of the 2 playable characters in the indie multiplayer game Among Us. The Imposter's goal is kill all crewmates by blending in as one of them. He's literally a being with legs, but he has somehow gained sexy person status due to the sudden popularity of the game and the many memes. There's really not much more I can say in there, but let me tell you the archetypes for this little being get wild. We have archetypes such as knife murder, purple, eye imagery, monster features, and tongue imagery, amongst others. Whitley, class Catter. Whitley is an intelligent Japanese sphere character from the video game Portal 2. He's a spherical robot AI that is referred to as a personality core. Initially helpful to the protagonist, other than being an arrogant dumbass, he is driven mad with power after gaining control of the entire facility and becomes the main villain of the game. To no one's surprise, he got a white twink humanization from the fandom. There's actually a lot of fanfiction about Wheatley's dark past, as a scientist who was murdered and put in a sphere for finding out something he shouldn't know. His archetypes include feral scientist, British, and quotable catchphrases. GLaDOS, class Euclid. Genetic lifeform in this operating system, or GLaDOS, is the main antagonist in the game Portal and half of Portal 2. She's an AI that presides over Aperture Science testing centers. She has a dry sense of humor and a sadistic personality. Just like Whitley, she got humanized and turned into a sexy woman. In the second half of Portal 2, she's put into a potato battery and forced to work with the player to take down Whitley. It is also revealed that her consciousness is based on Caroline, the former assistant of the CEO of Aperture Science, Cave Johnson. As a sexy woman, she's often depicted as an anime-style woman droid shrouded in wires with robotic eyes and dressed in a lab coat. There's also a strange fanfic trope where they get human GLaDOS and human Whitley together to try cake with the robot taste bots, but they can't actually eat it or taste it because they're robots. I don't know. There's also a very popular headcanon that Caroline is Shell's mother. Shell is the protagonist of Portal, in case you don't know that. Her tropes include dominating, theme song, and angst. Benray, class Tomiel. Benray is a character from the Twitch and YouTube series Half-Life VR, but the AI is self-aware. According to the wiki, Benray is hard to describe. He's an enigmatic character who follows the POV character, Gordon, being generally unhelpful and spouting inane bullshit. He is not human, so he's regarded as an anomaly. He's also the final villain in the series, and his reasons for being evil is explained through a nonsensical speech about video games. Benray is often shipped with the series versions of Gordon Freeman and is canonally attracted to men. The fandom's depiction of him are as against the sexy manification and as close to canon as possible, but there's people who make him into a full-on eldritch abomination. He's also described as Sans-like, as he is sometimes depicted glowing blue and has a similar personality. The main director of the series, Wayne Radio TV, has called him a once-ler. Among his tropes, we have mysterious one-winged angel and fourth wall blurring. Hornet, class Catter. Hornet is a major character in the video game Hollow Knight and is going to be the main playable character in its sequel, Hollow Knight Silksong. Despite her name being Hornet, she's actually a spider. She's the half-sister of the main character and the Hollow Knight. She has 2 pale long horns and wears a cloak. She has legs that can only be seen when she skitters in Silksong. Her weapon of choice is a needle, but can be seen wielding other weapons in Silksong. The wiki says she's a bug, but spiders are not bugs, guys. What are you talking about? She's technically an antagonist as you fight her twice as a boss, but it turns out she's just testing the player to see if they're strong enough. She also has a pretty angsty long backstory that I recommend you read if you don't want to play the game. It's a good game though. Some of her tropes are burden, dominating, and non-human. Grim, class Euclid. Grim is also a character from the video game Hollow Knight. He is a quest NPC and boss from the second DLC expansion, The Grim Troop. Grim is the ringmaster of a mysterious traveling circus. He's generally friendly, even in fights, which he only does for fun, and is described as a theater nerd. Grim has a lot of sexy man attributes and a vampire aesthetic. His archetypes include glowing neon, father figure, and long coat/cape. Jeff the Killer, class Catter. Jeffrey Woods, or Jeff the Killer, is probably one of the most popular creepypastas ever made. Jeff is a very pale teenage boy with wide eyes, burned-off eyelids, and a smile carved on his cheek. The creepypasta tells of how he and his brother were being bullied to the point where Jeff snapped and killed the bullies. He was severely burned and covered in bleach, which explains his facial features. When he was left out of the hospital, he carved a smile on his face, burned his eyelids off, and went on a killing spree where he killed his whole family and then roamed around killing people. Some say until this day. Despite the popularity of the creepypasta, it is widely considered as a badly written story with amateurish prose, awkward dialogue, inexplicable supernatural powers, over-the-top violence, terrible depictions of mental illness, amongst other things. Most of its fame is derived from the image associated with the creepypasta. Don't worry, I won't show it. The fandom often depicts him in a very anime boy style, which I think only made him more popular. The fanarts to me have always looked like Orochimaru and L had a love child. Is that only me? His archetypes include knife murder, power, and urban legend aesthetic. Slenderman. While there is a Slenderman page on the Sexyman Sexypedia, he isn't classified. Slenderman originated from a Photoshop contest on the Something Awful forums. The prompt was to create paranormal images. He's a public domain character with several YouTube series and video games based on him. Pretty sure there's also a Slenderman movie. Do I need to describe him? He's extremely tall, has no facial features or hair, wears a suit, and either kills people or makes them go missing. I googled Slenderman fanart to see how twinkified he was, and there's a lot of cool fanart of him out there, I'll give them that. His archetypes include Eldritch/glitching, pale twink, Raylo Redemption arc, and urban legend aesthetic. Really wish there was more info on what Raylo Redemption arc means, so if you know, let me know. Thank you. Herobrine, class cutter. Herobrine is a community-made creepypasta based on the game Minecraft. It blew up as an urban legend and became a running joke in Minecraft itself, with update changelog saying removed Herobrine. He originated in a competition image post on 4chan by a user telling a story of something that happened in his single-player Minecraft map. He would find structures that looked like another player built them and encounter a player with the default skin but white eyes. The fandom evolved his character into a purple misunderstood creature and often shipped him with Steve, the default player character. There's a long story of the history of Herobrine and its evolution through the years, which for time reasons I really can't get into. He has many archetypes including eye imagery, knife murder, urban legend aesthetic, and fourth wall blurring. Clone JFK, class catter. JFK is a character from the show Clone High. He is a genetic recreation of the real John F. Kennedy, whose body was dunked for his creation, just like all the other students in the show. He lives with his two foster dads, but JFK feels insecure about living in the shadow of his clone father, feelings exacerbated by teenage hormones. He copes with those feelings by being a macho jock jerk-ass womanizer. His archetypes include white, technically antagonist, and distinctive voice. Sniper, class Euclid. Sniper is a character from the video game Team Fortress 2. He is from New Zealand and escaped as a baby via a rocket ship that his father created. He crashes into Australia where he's adopted. Sniper becomes a mercenary employed by Reliable Excavation and Demolition, or Red Team. And you know what? Stuff happens that is really not that relevant. Jeez, I don't remember TF2 lore being that complicated. Anyways, he's one of the most popular TF2 characters on Tumblr. Fandom usually depicts him as a suave and intimidating, although in canon he's more of a social outcast. Have I mentioned he throws jars of his own piss at people? Anyways, archetypes include Dilf, Grime, and White. Eridan Ampora, class Euclid. Eridan is a troll in the webcomic Homestuck. He has a very marked divergence between his fanon and canon personalities, and allegedly, not in my opinion, notoriously obnoxious fangirls. He's an angsty jerkwad regarded as a stuck-up tool, described as having an overpowering genocide complex. He is mostly harmless until, you know, he isn't. In fanon depictions, Eridan is usually a depressed, lovesick, awkward, and misunderstood character. His tropes include angst, purple, and well-dressed. Really? Well-dressed? Agatha Harkness, class Euclid. Agatha is the main antagonist of the Marvel Disney Plus series WandaVision, played by Catherine Hahn. She's introduced as Agnes, a nosy but well-meaning neighbor. It is later revealed that she's actually a witch. Her sexy woman status is mostly in the Marvel fandom. Everyone else just knows her for like the winking meme. She has an angsty backstory as her mother tried to kill her after finding out she was using dark magic. Despite Wanda being more powerful, Agatha is more knowledgeable about magic and manages to use Wanda's fragile state of mind to get an upper hand. Her archetypes include MILF, Purple, and Theme Song. Starlight Glimmer, Class Euclid. Starlight is a character from the children's animated television series My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. She starts out as an antagonist but later goes on to play a larger role in the story, becoming a member of the main cast and a reformed villain. I really couldn't find a lot of info about this character, so if anyone wants to fill in the blank, you're welcome. Her archetypes include Girl Boss, Dominating, and Vriska archetype. Papyrus, Class Euclid. Papyrus is a character from the video game Undertale. While not as popular as a sexy man as his brother's sons, Papyrus was sexy-manified too. He is confident, loud, and flamboyant. In a No Mercy run, he refuses to fight you and offers to spare the player's life, which adds to the angst factor if you decide to kill him. A lot of his appeal comes from his dynamic with his brother. His archetypes include Skeleton, Power, and Flanderization. W.D. Gaster, Class Safe. Gaster is also a character from the video game Undertale. Despite having very few personality traits, he was turned into a Tumblr Sexyman. Gaster does not usually appear in a normal run of Undertale. If the game's fun values, or RNG values, are set to specific values, Gaster's followers will appear. There's also a mystery man who appears in a fun value room, and he's what a Gaster is usually represented as, but as far as I know, they could be different people. Most canon information is intentionally vague, but we all know fans love filling up those gaps. There's many fanart interpretations would make him anything from an eerie eldritch creature to a feral scientist, but it seems that one of the best interpretations that most draw inspiration from is from the Handplate AU by Sarala, a fanfic where Gaster is evil. His tropes include urban legend aesthetic, mysterious, and non-human. Gamzee. Gamzee Makara is a character from the webcomic Homestuck. He appears to be a troll equivalent of a juggalo. At first, he's very good-natured and laid-back, a supporting friend that is willing to make sacrifices for others. He is kinda the advisor or therapist to some of his friends like Karkat and Eridan. You know, all nice and good until he has a breakdown and murders a bunch of trolls. Gamzee seems obsessed with collecting hats and preserving them in glass tubes, and according to Kanaya, kissing them sometimes. Although casing dead bodies has another use in Homestuck, but I'm not getting into that now. Whoa, jeez, it's a lot. I can guess that some of his archetypes would include Purple, Feral, and Clown. Dave Strider. Dave is another character from the webcomic Homestuck. He's obsessed with being cool, but is a total nerd, which manifests in his unceasing pursuit of new ironic depths. He cares about his friends, curses a lot, and has a complicated relationship with his bro, who is also kinda his father figure. Despite that, he admires and aspires to become him. You know, it's really hard to describe this because Homestuck is so convoluted, and I don't know exactly why he is in this chart. Like Gamzee, I kind of get, which is why I added some archetypes I thought would fit, but I'm not sure how Dave fits here other than he's pale, or literally white, and people ship him with a bunch of characters. Dirk Strider. Another Homestuck character, Dirk Strider is the post-scratch incarnation of Dave's bro. He's very intelligent and brags about his achievements, especially involving robots. He's a fan of horses and a brony. Dirk is more laid back and less hot-headed than Dave, but seems to harbor a lot of self-hatred. He's canonly only interested in the same sex, but says he finds the label gay old-fashioned, and he kinda doesn't view his sexual orientation as a worthy discussion. He dates Jake English for some months, and they were a really popular ship a few years ago. Also, apparently, he's the antagonist of Homestuck 2, or whatever that is called. I'm not gonna get into any of that. Ida Clawthorne, Class Euclid. Ida is a main character in the animated series The Owl House. She's the mentor of the protagonist, Luz, a wanted wild witch known as the Owl Lady. She's a con artist and the most wanted witch in the Bowling Isles. Ida has an angsty backstory that has to do with a curse that turns her into an owl-like beast, and is a big part of her distress. Apparently, she has gathered attention from the MILF lovers out there. Some of her tropes include monster features, unkept woman, and girl boss. Lilith Clawthorne. Lilith is a supporting character on The Owl House and antagonist on Season 1. She's Edith's older sister and at first the leader and historian of the Emperor's Coven. Lilith is conservative, straight-laced, and generally law-abiding. That is until the finale of Season 1 where a bunch of shit happens. In Season 2, Lilith befriends Hootie, the actual Owl House, and has a more positive outlook on life while also trying to mend her relationship with her family. She becomes more empathetic and caring towards others. I'm trying really hard not to spoil these here because I feel like some stuff is so recent that I kind of don't want to spoil anything. But then I've spoiled a lot of like older stuff. I don't know. Hopefully I didn't spoil anything you wanted not spoiled. Alice Angel. Alice is a cartoon character from the video game Bendy and the Ink Machine. Alice is the first female cartoon created by JoJo Studios and starred in a series of cartoons in the 30s. She's a female humanoid and is stated that she's dynamic, strong, and intelligent with both charms and brains. Alice is there to stop Bendy's schemes since she's the more sensible of the two. She has a talent for singing and dancing. Alice seems to be very popular in the fandom, with a lot of people saying she's their fave and a good girl. She also has two alternate forms, Twisted Alice, a caricature of Alice Angel in the cycle, and antagonist in the series, and Alice an Angel who is an ally to the player. Jevil, class safe. Jevil is an optional boss from the video game Deltarune. Without a guy, he can be hard to meet and is considered the hardest enemy. Most of the backstory we know about him comes from his friend Seam. He was in prison because he found out he was a video game character and started acting strange. He used to work as a court jester with Seam. Jevil this time seemed to be a mix of a Joker playing card, Jack-in-the-Box toys, and a burden-esque clown. He's also so similar looking to Dimensio from Super Mario Bros. That people ship them. His archetypes include Chaos Lord, distinctive voice, and technically antagonist. Edelgard. Not on the Sexypedia, but I'm casting it's Edelgard, one of the protagonists in Fire Emblem 3 Houses. She's the princess and the future emperor of the Andestrian Empire. She holds herself with a dignified air, but is full of melancholy and solemn wistfulness. She's an exemplary student and a natural leader. Edelgard is modest, really cutting loose and maintaining formality. She can also be an enemy, so I'm guessing that and her girl bossness is why she's in this chart. She seems to be a very popular character with tons of fan art. Princess Luna. Princess Luna, also known as Nightmare Moon, is the main antagonist of the Season 1 premiere of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. As Nightmare Moon, she's your typical over-the-top, overconfident villain. She's portrayed as vicious and maniacal. Once transformed back to her former self, Princess Luna is remorseful. My Little Pony and the Brony fandom is huge, especially on Tumblr. So y'all can imagine the amount of fanart, fanfiction, and just fandom content in general surrounding this character. I think her position in this chart is due to her originally being a villain and being a pony, but since she's not in the Sexypedia, I can't give you any specific tropes from there. Nick Wilde. Nick Wilde is a character I'm actually surprised to not see in the Sexypedia, but he's one of the protagonists of the movie Zootopia. He's a skinny fox with red hair who dresses in a Hawaiian-style shirt with a tie and pants. Nick is suspicious, cunning, and shrewd, which are all traits commonly associated with foxes. He's also easygoing and skillful, easily fooling and ripping off others through his charm and friendly demeanor. There's also this whole thing about prejudice against carnivores or predators in the Zootopia universe. When he was a kid, Nick wanted to join the Junior Scouts, but his initiation was actually a cruel prank because he's a fox, and they're considered vile and untrustworthy. And yeah, super shocked to not see him in the Sexyman wiki because people were thirsty over this guy on Tumblr for a while. There's tons of fanart of him, and he's also humanized in some of them. Drawn tall and wide, with red hair, and very often shipped with the other protagonist, Yuri Hobbs. Kylo Ren, class Keter. Kylo Ren is one of the main antagonists in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Birth name Ben Solo, he's the son of Han Solo and Leia Organa, and former student of his uncle Luke Skywalker. After being drawn to the dark side by Snoke, he betrayed his family and adopted the Kylo Ren persona. He is super angsty. Those are his Anakin Skywalker genes acting up? Or maybe because his uncle tried to murder him. There's a lot of fan content of him and Rey, who he's often shipped with, being star-crossed lovers, which I guess it's also kinda canon in a way. The internet was super thirsty for him ever since he took that helmet off. And I hear he has an 8-pack. His sexy man tropes include mysterious, white, and dominating. Amanda Young, class Euclid. Amanda is a character from the Saw movie franchise. She's the first victim to survive one of Jigsaw's killer's game. Surviving this helped her and taught her to appreciate her life, so she became his apprentice. He kinda becomes like a father figure to her, helping him set up traps and genuinely caring for him. Amanda privately disagrees with his ideals though. She felt that nobody ever really changed and preferred inescapable death traps rather than the survival game Jigsaw created. Amanda is one of the most popular characters among Saw fans, but her popularity boosted after appearing in the video game Dead by Daylight. Her archetypes include twist villain, girl boss, and animal theming. The animal theme is because of the pig mask. I think I forgot to mention that. She has a pig mask. Sonic.exe, class Euclid. Sonic.exe is the main antagonist of the creepypasta by the same name. The story and its sequel are considered some of the worst, most laughable creepypastas ever, to the point where it actually got deleted from the archive. Despite that, it has a persistent fan base and even fan-made games. To summarize, the creepypasta is about the author encountering a file called Sonic.exe, which contains a scary and grotesque version of a Sonic game. It's full of cliches, but the story is still iconic as it inspired many other video game creepypastas. Even though he's not sexified like other characters in this chart, he does have many tropes of a regular sexy man. Those tropes include chaos lore, eldritch eye imagery, and urban legend aesthetic, among others. I'm about to butcher this name, but Roxel Card. Roxel Card is an antagonist from the game Deltarune. He introduces himself as the Duke of Puzzles and attempts to thwart the party by forcing them to solve his puzzle. After being defeated multiple times, he claims to have helped them and refers to his actions as tests of heroic resolve. He's an adult-sized humanoid with a diamond-shaped head, long white hair, and seemingly melted face composed of 2 diamond-shaped eyes and a large mouth. He also wears a royal suit with epaulets. He uses early modern English speech patterns like thou, and half-sard capitalization of phrases for emphasis. There's a lot of sexified fan art of him online, so this is another character I'm actually surprised is not on the Sexypedia. I can assume some of his sexy man archetypes are distinctive voice, well-dressed, and white hair. Go to Akeshi, class Euclid. Akeshi is a character from the video game Persona 5. He is the second detective prince and the rival of the Phantom Thieves by his in-universe fans. He is originally presented as a minor antagonist, then party member, then major antagonist, then tragic villain, and then a party member again. Only in Royale though. Akeshi is a high school boy working as a detective with a significant celebrity status. He is the illegitimate child of his mother and Masayoshi Shido, one of the Persona 5's main antagonists. His mom committed suicide early in his life, and he was passed around orphanages until he became independent. So that's his tragic backstory. His archetypes are intelligence, flanderization, and uniform, among others. Flippy, class Euclid. Flippy is a character from the Flash cartoon series Happy Tree Friends. He's a green bear wearing military camouflage, a green beret, and military dog tags. The series is about cute furry cartoon animals going about their day, only to die horrible absurd deaths. There is no real consistent personality with Flippy. His appeal as a sexy man apparently comes from the fact that he's the only character with any actual killing intent. That is because Flippy is usually sensitive, quiet, and a little bit shy, but then transforms into an offensive portrayal of PTSD when there's something that sounds like gunfire or the color red and becomes murderous. Apparently, the fandom likes making content where he is sad and lonely about his alter ego. He's sometimes humanized and can be interpreted as an old chubby scruffy Vietnam War vet or like a young hot sexy pale white anime boy. His archetypes include knife murderer, wine-tuned humanization, and duality. The Final Pam. The Final Pam is a fictional character created by the Polygon's Let's Play YouTube series Monster Factory in their playthrough of Fallout 4. She appears as a hideously designed woman who attains superhuman powers through the use of console commands and terrorizes the wasteland. Her presence online has been well received, inspiring numerous pieces of fan art. Not much is known about the Final Pam's background except that she was born sometime before 2077. I want to read you how the Polygon wiki describes her because it's so funny. The Final Pam oozes beauty where she goes, with a fashion and personality which match that of Margaret Thatcher. In the midst of freckles and blemishes, you find a mouth with a permanent smile, lovely blue eyes surrounded by darkness, both literally and figuratively, and a stunningly long chin, and her red broken nose to show you how much of a badass she is. Pam also has a very thick accent, implying that Pam has ancestors from places like Eastern Europe, despite the fact that there's no evidence that Pam has any ancestor, as it is believed she has always been and will always be. So yeah, true sexy women. Sylvie Class Euclid. Sylvie is a character played by Sofia Di Martino in the Disney Plus series Loki. She is a variant of Loki, and while she shares some of his character traits and tropes, she is a sexy woman independent of him. Loki is a very recent series, so I'm going to refrain from saying too much about the plot, and I actually haven't watched it, and to be honest, I'd rather not know more, so sorry about that, my bad. From what I skimmed though, she does share a lot of characteristics with him. Among her archetypes, we have Chaos Lord, dominating and mysterious. Hannibal Lecter, class catter. Dr. Hannibal Lecter is a fictional character in a series of suspense novels by Thomas Harris. The Tumblr Sexyman version, though, is in NBC's Hannibal. Hannibal is a psychiatrist/serial killer known as the Chesapeake Reaper. He typically mutilates his victims alive, harvesting their organs and presents their corpses in extravagant, artistic ways to law enforcement. He's a wealthy man of fine taste, wears suits with questionable colors and patterns, and is played by actor Mads Mikkelsen. Mikkelsen? I have no idea how you pronounce his name. Hannigram, the ship between Hannibal and Will Graham, the main character of the show, is probably one of the most popular, long-lasting standing ships on Tumblr and Twitter. Called Murder Husbands in canon, their relationship proved so compelling it basically became canon. Whether it's good or bad is debatable. Also, Hannibal had this whole flower crown moment on the internet, and cute GIF edits for a moment there, some of which I would still use to this day, like happy cannibal noises. His archetypes include Chaos Lord, Dilf, and distinctive voice. Tricky the Clown, class Euclid. Tricky is the major antagonist of the Madness Combat franchise. He was a simple assassin working for the sheriff, but after he is killed by Hank, revived and upgraded with the power of improbability drive, he becomes the central antagonist and Hank's main target. Tricky is a zombie, so he has green skin and exposed teeth. He has gained a massive following online due to the revival of the Madness Combat franchise. Some of his archetypes are Chaos Lord, all-powerful, and Clown. Mothman. The Mothman is a cryptid from the town of Point Pleasant in the United States. He is one of the most well-known cryptids in the world. Mothman is described as a bipedal winged humanoid. He says to look more like a large humanoid owl than a moth though. His colors vary from black to gray to brown, often reported to be about 6 feet tall with a wingspan of 10 to 15 feet or more, and the ability to fly over 100 miles per hour. Sexyman Mothman is a little different. He does look more like a moth-owl hybrid with big red eyes and fluffy moth antenna and feathers around his body. Mothman has a huge internet following with countless fanners ranging from cute little fluffball to more humanized versions of him. Also, people really like drawing Dim from a Raider same as a Mothman apparently. I'm guessing because of the character's love of the supernatural. Jack Frost, class catter. Jack Frost is the protagonist of the DreamWorks animated film Rise of the Guardians. He's a bit of a different case since most of his sexy appeal comes from crossovers. The Rise of the Brave Tangled Dragon sub-fandom in 2012 was based largely on him being shipped with Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon and him on adventures with Merida and Rapunzel. Jack was kind of the spare male character for other animated movie characters, like for example the Onceler. A year later, Frozen came out, and Elsa, being an angsty, youthful, white-haired woman with ice powers and similar aesthetic to Jack, woke up something in people. Jack Elsa exploded in popularity, surpassing any fandom content that came before them, and created even more of a sexy man appeal to him. And yeah, it was huge, but Rise of the Guardians being a minor box office bomb, never had a sequel, and thus interest faded away. I think if the series had continued, Jack Frost would probably be up there with other well-known sexy men. In the end, Jack Frost was nothing without shipping. His archetypes are pale twink/white, angst, white hair, and John Locked. Discord, class Euclid. Discord is a villain and the spirit of chaos in the cartoon series My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. He had plagued Equestria 100 years before, but was turned into a statue by Princess Celestia and Luna until he broke out a millennium later. He stayed on the show as a reluctant good trickster character. He is the head of a donkey, tail and right leg of a dragon, wings of a bat and bird, paws of a lion and chicken, left leg of a deer, and horns of goat and deer. There's also a very popular fanmade song named after him which any Tumblr person has heard. His archetypes include Chaos Lord, distinctive voice, and Eldritch. Roquefort Cookie, class Euclid. Roquefort Cookie is a character from the game Cookie Run Oven Break. They are cookies, which would surprise me if I didn't have so many friends in that fandom. Roquefort is a well-known thief from the Blue Cheese Manor, known for stealing jewels and gems in a sophisticated and professional manner, and also leaving a calling card. Although canonically a tan shade, fanart commonly depicts them white. Roquefort is also often shaped with Detective Almond Cookie. Among their archetypes we have mysterious, technically antagonist, and white hair. Almond Cookie, class Euclid. Almond Cookie is a character from the game Cookie Run Kingdom. Almond is a noticeable older cookie with wrinkles on his face and gray hair, dressed in a fancy suit and beige coat. Some people call him the Dilf Cookie. In most fanart, he's portrayed as an older white man. Despite how new the character is, he has gained a loyal and passionate following, and as I mentioned before, people frequently ship him with Roquefort Cookie. Some of his archetypes are father figure, well-dressed, and white twink humanization. Timekeeper Cookie. Timekeeper Cookie is also a character from the mobile game Cookie Run Oven Break. They are one of the few legendary rarity cookies. They share their pet Cosmo Gear with another cookie, Croissant Cookie. This is apparently because they are the same person, or cookie I guess. But Timekeeper is the result of Croissant Cookie becoming hyper-aware of timelines. Timekeeper knows everything that has happened, will happen, and is going to happen, and uses this knowledge to intentionally mess with the game's timeline solely because they are bored. They wear a fancy steampunk-style outfit with long pinstripe suit pants and puffy sleeves. Timekeeper is notable as the first sexy person from Cookie Run. Their archetypes include fourth wall blurring, dominating, and technically antagonist. Espresso Cookie. Espresso Cookie is a fan favorite epic cookie from the game Cookie Run Kingdom. He has a bond with Madeline Cookie called We've Never Met, which means they are often shipped together as an opposites attract kind of trope. He has a very melodic and distinctive flat voice which is described as soothing. Espresso wears long dark robes with a cape with a large collar and an eye pattern on the back. In the meta, Espresso Cookie is one of the strongest cookies in the game, as well as story-wise. He's shown to be the master of his magic and quite a formidable foe. His tropes include mystery, intelligence, and power. Dr. Wasabi Cookie. Dr. Wasabi is an epic cookie from the game Cookie Run Oven Break. She's described as an odd scientist that's always experimenting on the unimaginable. Dr. Wasabi Cookie enjoys experimenting with her patented wasabi syrup, but be careful because the syrup is so powerful it causes genetic mutations. There is no page in the Sexypedia for her, but she has white hair, a lab coat, and her hair seems to glow green, so I can already see her sexy person appeal. There's also a ton of fanart I found of her, so I can tell she's a fairly popular character. Some of her archetypes, according to me, are feral scientist, lab coat, white hair, and glowing neon. Pal, class Euclid. Pal is the antagonist from the movie The Mitchells vs. the Machine. She's a hyper-intelligent smartphone AI, similar to Alexa or Siri. After her creator Mark Bowman replaces her with the new Pal Max robots, she hacks the robots and all Pal Lab devices to start a machine uprising. Despite being a phone, there's a lot of object head attraction out there. If you don't know what an object head is, it's when a character has a human body but a non-human head. So in the case of Pal, she's literally just a phone. But in fanart, they will give her a body or even put her on one of those Pal Max robots. And not gonna lie, there's some really cool designs. I think this is one of my favorite sexy person fandom concepts I've seen in a while. Anyways, archetypes include angst, capitalism, and British. The Grinch, class Keter. The Grinch is the main antagonist of the 1957 book How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. The book has been made into 3 movies. The first one, an animated movie, the second one was a live-action starring Jim Carrey, and the final one was a 3D animation starring Benedict Cumberbatch. The latter is the one that popularized the Grinch as a sexy man. The Grinch is an icon, so while the Grinch has always been popular, he really wasn't popular in that way until 2018 movie gave him a more appealing design and a veteran sexy man voice actor Benedict Cumberbatch. People began to see the sexy potential in him, and so the thirst for the Grinch began. Fun fact, the rise of Sexy Man Grinch coincided with Tumblr's ban, so some people blamed it on the fanbase. Some of his X-Men tropes are dominating, power of love, and British. King Dice, class Euclid. King Dice is one of the main villains in the video game Cuphead. He is the right-hand man of the devil and can be found in every die house where he acts as a gatekeeper. King Dice is roughly 6 feet tall, having the body of a human man and floating die as his head. King Dice is extremely sleazy, deceitful, untrustworthy, and manipulative. While on the surface he had the personality of an energetic and easygoing entertainer, he's as cruel and sadistic as the devil. Unlike our previous object head, King Dice is very sexy mannish, sometimes even drawn with a normal human head and white hair. I want you all to know that while I was looking through fan art of King Dice, my mom walked in, just as I scrolled by fan art of him and the devil in compromising position. Thank Jesus. My mother can't see too well. So yeah, I guess people ship them. His archetypes include suit guy, dominating, villain, and purple. Cagney Carnation, class Euclid. Cagney Carnation is also a character from the video game Cuphead. He's a giant sentient orange flower with arms and spikes along the stem who uses various plant-based attacks to fight the player. Cagney, being one of the most popular sexy men out of the game, was a shock because there was already a suit guy everyone thought people would be attracted to. Apparently there was ex-reader fanfiction posted about him days after the game came out. He was shipped with a lot of characters, but the most notable one, just by how popular it is despite being off the wall, is him with Eyeball Ghost from the Phantom Express. Fans call his character Blind Spectre, despite the fact that they're literally just the first phase of a boss fight. Their pairing is known as Ghost Blossom. People also seem to really like drawing him with sharp teeth, and occasionally humanize him, making him a tall, skinny white man with fiery orange hair. Wait, why is the Ghost Blossom fan art cute? Side note. But this whole time I've been researching, I've been hoping this doesn't awaken anything in me, because sometimes it just takes good fan art, Anyways, archetypes include retro, ensemble dark horse, and monster features. Floofty Fizzlebing, class Euclid. Floofty is a character from the PS5 video game Bugsnax. They are an apparently infamous scientist, having been criticized for their questionable behavior more than once and being no stranger to witch hunts. They belong to the predominant sentient species in the game's universe, which is a race of fuzzy muppets called the Grumpuses. What's appealing about Floofty and qualifies them as a certified sexy person is their position as an unethical scientist and their appealing voice and design. They are well dressed with a bow tie, bright purple fur, and they're canonically non-binary. Also, apparently they canonically cut their own leg off and ate it, and are also a huge asshole. Going through fan art, I can see some humanized versions of them, but surprisingly for a sexy person, they're not depicted white. Their archetypes include well-dressed, purple, and British. Lady Luck, class Safe. Lady Luck is a character from the game Dicey Dungeons. She has curly red-pink hair that keeps one eye hidden, has sharp teeth, and wears a showman's suit with a cape. I really can't tell you much about her due to the nature of the game and the lack of info in the Sexypedia. I can tell you, however, that people are thirsty for sexy people with sharp teeth. There's quite a bit of fan art out there of her. Her archetypes are monster features, technically antagonist, and suit guy. Rick Sanchez, class Euclid. Rick is one of the two titular characters of the animated show Rick and Morty. He's a parody of Doc Brown from Back to the Future, with a much more abrasive personality. Rick is a genius, but incredibly cruel, and seems to believe intelligence and kindness are mutually exclusive. He's an alcoholic, often carrying a flask and stuttering when he talks. He's able to travel to alternate dimensions, so there are many alternate versions of him. They have created a society of Ricks, providing a real basis for some good old self-shipping. And he's a confirmed pansexual by the creator, so I'm only gonna mention this because this is how I found Rick's status as a sexy person on Tumblr. So, voice actor and co-creator of the show Justin Roiland is friends with Gravity Falls creator Alex Hirsch, right? So they've made little Easter eggs of each other's show on their own creations. Some of it has to do with Rick hanging out with Stan Pint, a character from Gravity Falls, who is also an old man and we'll talk about later. You can see where I'm going with this. People ship them, they're called Stanches. Great name, gotta give them that. There's tons of Stanches content out there, even if it hasn't been popular in like 4 years, I still encounter it in the wild sometimes. Anyway, sexy man tropes include feral scientist, unkept man, and DILF/GILF. Murdoch, class Euclid. Murdoch Nichols is the bass guitarist of the British band Gorillaz. He is a green-skinned human with black hair. There's a little of ambiguity to his actual race as he was portrayed brownish in his earlier depictions, but has since been just fully green. While not quite a villain, Murdoch is generally portrayed antagonistic, malicious, and gross in every appearance he makes. He's usually the source of most conflict or problems in the Gorilla storyline. Fandom depictions of Murdoch tend to stay close to canon, but sometimes downplay his borderline abusive nature to make him more shippable. The most popular ship in the fandom is Two Dog, paired him with the band's frontman Stuart 2D Pot, probably because they are the characters that interact the most and the fact that they are both quote-unquote attractive, skinny British men. Some of his tropes include unkept man, British, and mad scientist. Data. Lieutenant Commander Data is a character from the Star Trek franchise. Data was a sometime android, the first and only in Starfleet. His physical and mental capabilities are superior to any organic or cybernetic humanoids, including Klingons, humans, and Borg drones. Data has an aging program designed to simulate the external effects of aging in physical appearance. Data always sought to become more human in his behavior, sometimes to unfortunate results. His attempts at humors were not successful, nor were his attempts at romance and love. He's not on the Sexypedia, but I would consider him class catter because he was a sex symbol. Actor Brent Spinner, who played Data, would get tons of fan mail coming from women. He described him as romantic mail that was really written to Data. He's a really accessible personality. So he was pretty popular with the ladies outside of the internet. There's tons of fan content of Data out there, which is not surprising seeing as not only Star Trek a huge franchise, but in my opinion, the original fandom. Let's not forget people were writing Star Trek fanfiction even before the internet was a thing like it is today. I'm not sure what the most popular ship for him is, but the one I seem to encounter most in the wild is him being paired with Geordi LaForge or The Forge. I'm gonna guess some of his sexy man tropes are uniform, power, and non-human. Zero Class Euclid. Zero is the deuteragonist of one of my favorite games ever, Mega Man X, the protagonist of Mega Man Zero and a major character in Mega Man ZX. He's the creation of Dr. Wily, the villain from the classic series. He's also friends with Mega Man X. Zero lives for hundreds of years and is rebuilt with a new body for the Zero series and as a biometal for the ZX series. Through the series, he dies a total of 4 times, all from self-sacrifice. Fanboys tend to consider him their macho power fantasy, but they are wrong according to some. For others, he's a pale twink that they ship with X. Apparently, he's also very loved by LGBTA+ fans. Angsty and self-sacrificing, a father figure towards Ciel and Alouette, mysterious origins and a twink, is there any doubt he was destined to be a sexy man? Some of his tropes include one-winged angel, power, and duality. The Mad Hatter. Class, safe/neutralized for now. Taryn Hightop, also known as the Mad Hatter, is a character adapted from the Hatter from the book Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, appearing in a movie adaptation in 2010 and 2016. He's initially a fun-loving madman who was stuck in a tea party in celebration with his good friend, the Dormouse, and the Hare. The sexy man in question, though, is played by Johnny Depp with its own spin. This Hatter has a more important role, is angstier, and tilted a little too much on the side of conventionally hotter and cuter than his previous incarnation. It is said that in 2010, minutes after the movie release, there were already 30+ fanfics of canon fics for Alice leaving Wonderland. This number continued to go up, with the most popular ship being Haddock, aka Hatter and Alice. He was often portrayed as a twink with musculature enough to hold a two-handed sword and anime style. In 2016, James Bobbin replaced Burton, and he got kinda close to making Haddock's canon, except a bunch of stuff happens in the movie, and then Johnny Depp's popularity died due to some allegations that I'm sure we all know about, but I'm not gonna get into any details. In the next few years, the fandom would never be the same. In 2020, the fandom was making sort of a comeback from its 10th anniversary, and a lot of it had to do with TikTok becoming huge during quarantine. Basically, there was people cosplaying as the Mad Hatter on TikTok and making it like quote-unquote hot. Hate saying that. Shout out to the person who wrote this page on Sexypedia for a very comprehensive guide. Some of his archetypes are Burden, Clown, Pale Twink, and Twisted Freaking Psychopath. Turbo, class safe/neutralized. Turbo, also known as King Candy, is a character from the movie Wreck-It Ralph. King Candy is introduced as a side protagonist, but they're revealed to be the villain Turbo. He maintains a facade of stability through most of the movies, with occasional wild mood swings. It is not well documented if people were actually attracted to this guy, but it seems people have mentioned self-shipping between both versions of him, as well as having ships with OCs and self-inserts. There is also quite a bit of fan art out there for Turbo. Some of it makes me very uncomfy, so Google at your own risk. Some of his archetypes are knife murder, burden / well-dressed, and twist villain. Bendy, class catter, ? Bendy is the main antagonist of the horror game Bendy and the Ink Machine. He's also an in-universe cartoon character, so technically Ink Bendy is the villain and final boss. Ink Bendy is an Eldritch-type ink monster. Bendy and the Ink Machine is a very retro-themed game. It's modeled after old black and white cartoons in that rubber hose animation style of the 1930s. If you Google Bendy fan art, you will find everything from cute canon-looking characters to creepier interpretations of him alongside Ink Bendy, which also looks like a lot of self-shipping is happening. You will also find a lot of anime-style Twink Bendy fan art, so he's definitely had the sexy man treatment. Among his archetypes we have villain, eldritch / retro, and white twink humanization. Mega Man, class neutralized. Mega Man is the titular character of the movie Megamind, voiced by Will Ferrell. He's an alien refugee from the Gaupunk Quadrant, a reformed supervillain and the current defender of Metro City. He has a showman persona, is smugly dominated, and flamboyantly flaunts his powers and aesthetics in a ridiculous over-the-top way. The name Megamind is literal, as he's a tech genius supervillain with a literal massive brain and blue skin. Apparently there was a brief period shortly after the movie was released where there was a decent amount of fanfiction activity, but it seemed to die off quickly. That was until 2018, where there was a resurgence in popularity among Tumblr users. Many agree that the movie was tragically underrated and had poor marketing, but at this point, Megamind never really became a true sexy man. Summer of 2020 though. People were in their homes thanks to the global panini, and there was a Tumblr resurgence of the Megamind fandom. Apparently there's still very little creator content, with most of the fanfiction just being generic fluff one-shots. I did Google Megamind fan art for this one too, and wow. I will say there's more sexified art of him than I expected. I also personally see a lot of more people talking and creating content about this character in the wild as of recently. So yeah, there's people there, but unless a new Megamind movie comes out, which I think it's unlikely, I don't know if the fandom will keep on. Some of his archetypes include intelligent / mad scientist, technically antagonist, and dominating. Dr. Eggman, class Euclid. Dr. Evil Robotnik, also known as Dr. Eggman, is the main antagonist of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. He's had many appearances, but the one who made him reach sexy man status was Jim Carrey's portrayal of him in the 2020 movie. Okay, so Dr. Eggman originally looked like this, and Jim Carrey's versions looks like this. So I get it. They turned him into a tall, skinny, well-dressed sexy man, and it's a great example of how these tropes really for the most part have one type of man stay like. And even if you were a popular villain with a drastically different look in the past, the sexification can get to you. It means any character has the potential of turning into sexy man, if the franchise is popular enough to get more reboots and remakes and just content in general. So you see that character you like that isn't considered a sexy person? Well, wait and see, because someday someone might get, I don't know, Timothée Chalamet to play them, and then that's it. Sexified. Anyways, tropes include capitalist villain and mad scientist. N, class Euclid. N is a character from the video game Pokemon Black White and Black 2 White 2. He was known as the puppet leader of Team Plasman and aimed to separate humans and Pokemon. When N was a child, he was an orphan in the woods and raised by Pokemon. Getsy, the main villain, arrives one day claiming to be his father and raising him to be king. While he works for Team Plasma, he wasn't really about that life. N was also often shipped with most protagonists of the game. He's probably one of the most popular Pokemon characters ever. There's so much fan work and just love for him in general, even to this day. I do think he was created as a character for people to latch on to. I don't think there was any doubt that he was gonna be a popular character. N was also in the recent game Pokemon Masters EX. Some of his archetypes are mysterious, pale twink, and technically antagonist. Guzma, class safe. Guzma is one of the antagonists in the Pokemon games. The wiki says, he's a dumbass who thinks he's evil but really isn't, and that's why we love him. Guzma is the leader of Team Skull, one of the villainous teams of Alola. In both the game and the anime, the growth-serving Guzma are nuisances but don't actually do anything evil. Alolan locals think they're annoying, yeah, but they don't cause any real harm. Guzma treats them like family though. In canon, it's hinted that Guzma went through a lot of hardships. He was friends with Professor Kukui and they went through the island challenge together, but Guzma was unsuccessful. Neither of them achieved their dream of becoming trial captain, but while Kukui moved on, Guzma internalized his failures. Fans use this backstory to make a lot of content about them. His archetypes are Aang/mysterious, unkept man, and white hair among others. Lewis, class Euclid. Lewis Pepper is one of the main characters and antagonists from the animated music series Mystery Skull Animated. He rose to Tumblr Sexyman popularity after the first music video dropped, and he was all people saw on their dashboard during Halloween of 2014. Lewis, along with the rest of the main characters, Arthur, Vivi, and Mystery, were a part of a paranormal investigator group called Mystery Skull. When he was alive, he and Vivi were in a loving and romantic relationship, something he held on to even in death. This caused Arthur to feel jealous of the two, but it is unknown why. The theory is that he felt like a third wheel since he doesn't really show any romantic interest for either of them. After an investigation goes wrong, Arthur pushes Lewis off a cliff and loses his life. He was possessed by a mysterious ghost, turning him into a vengeful and enraged skeletal ghost looking for his best friend for revenge. Just look at him. You can see why he's a sexy man. Archetypes include villain, suit guy, skeleton, and glowing neon. The Warden, class Catter. The Warden is the main character of the animated series Super Jail. He runs a whimsical and poorly maintained prison known as Super Jail. It's settled on top of an active volcano and surrounded by all manners of psychedelic creatures. Warden is an unhinged man, absolutely hell-bent on having the best prison in the universe. He's also implied to be a non-human entity capable of teleportation and shape-shifting. The Warden is depicted in fanart as a pale twink, which I think isn't surprising to anyone at this point. I thought I have never seen this character before, but then I googled fanart and yeah, somewhere somehow I encountered fanart of him. I say somewhere somehow like I don't know the answer to that. It's Tumblr. I still use Tumblr. I'm not ashamed of saying it. I still use Tumblr, okay? I'm using Tumblr right now. It's like opening another tab while I'm recording this. Anyways, some of his archetypes are, as you can guess, well-dressed, pale twink, and dilf. Zachary. Zachary is an NPC from the RPG Maker game Off. Most of the characters are aware that the batter is being controlled by a player outside of the game. Zachary views himself as the designated shopkeeper, similar to how the judge views himself as the designated tutorial giver. Both of the NPCs talk to the player through the batter, and Zachary is very silly about it. He's extremely charismatic about only existing as a video game character. A lot of fans think his voice sounds attractive, even though he only has two voice clips, a laugh and a meow. I think it's also worth mentioning that the game was fan-translated, and the fandom really latched onto the errors, even after being corrected. There's a lot of Zachary content out there, art, fanfiction, and even cosplay. Fanart interpretations go anywhere from cute to sexy man to creepy. His archetypes include mysterious, white but like literally white, and fourth wall blurring. Eraserhead. Shota Aizawa, also known as Erasure Hero Eraserhead, is a character from the anime My Hero Academia. He's a pro hero and a homebrew teacher of UA High School's Class 1A. Eraserhead is usually recognized for his worn-out appearance, often looking fatigued. His facial hair is unkempt and his eyes almost always look tired. He's a very stern and reserved man who has lofty expectations of his students. He's primarily moved by logic and doesn't believe he needs to maintain a clique-con appearance or filter his words for others. He often comes off as cold, apathetic, impatient, exerting very little energy and preferring to take naps in his sleeping bag instead. However, he genuinely cares about his students and about being a hero. He also has been shown to not completely be devoid of humor or joy. And look, if you watch my previous video, you will know I love this character, but the way the fandom draws this man is like sexy man to the extreme. I don't know how some fan artists do it, but they manage to keep all of his distinctive characteristics while making him sexier than he is in canon. I don't know how you do it because I drew him once and y'all good. Y'all very good at that. There's also a lot of fanfiction about him, with him being shipped with President Mike, being the fourth most popular ship in the My Hero Academia section of AO3. His sexy man tropes, according to yours truly, are angst, dilf, and unkept man. And yes, he's a dilf because he's one of Deca's dad. Don't fight me on this. Venom. Venom is a character from Marvel and a few years ago got a movie with his own name that is getting a sequel. So this guy is only going up. I'm gonna read the intro of the Sexypedia entry of him because it's true. Can't deny it. I'm gonna be frank. I don't think this guy would have gotten a huge Tumblr fandom if this movie came out after the horny ban. 2 words. Long tongue. Okay, so Venom is a symbiote, a sentient alien with liquid-like form who survives by binding to usually a human host. Venom in the comic book has plenty of hosts, but we're gonna focus on the 2018 movie where his host is Eddie Brock, played by Tom Hardy. Venom gives his host superhuman abilities. Venom is most popularly shipped with Eddie. Now, this isn't exactly canon, but it's not discouraged in any way. Sony released a fake trailer advertising it as a rom-com between Venom and Eddie. Actor Tom Hardy has made suggestive jokes about his characters, and in a deleted scene, Venom confirmed that it was his idea to kiss Eddie while using his ex-fiancée as a host. But once again, none of this is technically canon. That is, in Sony's movies so far. We don't know what might happen. But the symbiote and Eddie are a romantic couple in a few comic adaptations apparently. And yeah, people are so thirsty for Venom. I mean, if you're in the internet, you probably know. It's not even a Tumblr thing. Like, I see this out in the wild that is Twitter from people I don't even expect it from. I think Sexypedia OP is right. 90% of what got him sexified was the long sexy tongue and probably the teeth too. Once again, teeth, sharp teeth, horny. It's like a must at this point. You can't draw sharp teeth and expect people to not be horny about it. I don't know what to say. It's like a rule of the internet at this point. Archetypes include John Locke tongue imagery and power. Stan Pines, class Euclid. Stanley Pines is a major character from the animated show Gravity Falls. He is Mabel and Dipper's grand uncle and guardian for the summer. He runs the Mystery Shack, a tourist trap in the middle of the woods. Based on the show's timeline, he's between 58 to 60 years old. Stan frequently wears a full suit and a vest, or he wears a tainted tank top and boxer shorts. Stan has a very long angsty backstory that has to do with his twin brother Stanford. They were close as kids but opposites. Stan was the brawn, Ford was the brain. If I explained their whole backstory, I would be here forever. But just so you know, they have a complicated relationship. So we talked about how Stan was shipped with Rick from Rick and Morty previously, but that's not the only person in this chart that he gets shipped with. People have recently started shipping him with Ida from the Owl House, and this is not random at all. Show creator Alex Hirsch is dating the Owl House creator Dana Terrace. But that's not all. Canonly, Stan's ex-wife was named Marilyn, and in a recent episode we found out that Ida's alias when she's on Earth is Marilyn. Of course, this is unconfirmed, but people are running wild with this theory as proof that they were once married. There's also a lot more details about this theory. I'll leave the Reddit post about it in the description. It's a super interesting read if you are into either of the shows or both of the shows. Among other Sexy Man fandom stuff to mention, like him being called Hunkle Stan, there's a point where people just drew Stan as huge, muscular, and sexy for no apparent reason. There's also very explicit art out there of him, and I suffered through that for this video, and I'll never be the same. And in 2018, a fan made a Grunkle dating sim. Honestly, I'm surprised he's in higher on this chart. Tropes include DILF/GILF, Suit Guy, and Mysterious. Ford Pines, class Euclid. Stanford Pines is also a character from the cartoon Gravity Falls. Ford is a paranormal investigator who spends many years researching supernatural activity in Gravity Falls and documented it in a series of journals. He spends the majority of the show stranded between dimensions because of his own portal. Also, the angsty backstory I mentioned in Stan's entry. He's Stan's twin brother. I probably should have started with that. He's Stan's twin brother, in case you didn't know. Ford actually has a friends to enemies relationship with fellow sexy man Bill Cipher, which means that yeah, sometimes humanized Bill was shipped with Ford. And yes, people are also thirsty for Ford, but I think it's like a preference thing. Like, some people prefer Stan, other people prefer Ford. He is also in the fan-made game Grunkle Dating Sim. Sexy man archetypes include urban legend aesthetic, long coat, and mysterious. Also, did I not mention he has extra fingers in this chan? He is a polydactyl, has 6 fingers on each hand. His hand is the hand on the journal. Black Hat, class Euclid, possible catter. Black Hat is one of the main characters from the Mexican animated series Villanos. Being the boss of the rest of the main cast, Black Hat spends his time sitting in his office and yelling at his employees to do his dirty work for him while occasionally causing mischief in their mansion. He's a retired villain who out of boredom has taken up selling arms and gadgets to younger villains. His retirement comes from doing every evil thing imaginable, hence why he's usually irritated. He also has his employees do certain services from customers like defeating heroes. There's also a theory that he retired because no hero stands a chance against him and therefore it's just too easy. Black Hat has a long list of powers including shapeshifting, black magic, laser vision, portal creation, shadow manipulation, and telekinesis. He has sharp teeth, occasionally claws, and can grow tentacles, so I think that should tell you why people are thirsty over him. Oh, and he wears a suit. For this reason, some people speculate that he's actually sexy man bait, and I kind of agree. Although I've never watched Villanos. Kind of want to watch it now though, is it good? Anyways, Black Hat is commonly shipped with Dr. Flug, Demencia, or fan-made characters, even though in canon he's very averse to romance. There's also a popular AU version of him called White Hat, who is headcanon as his brother too. Sexy man archetypes are all powerful, suit guide, and dominating among others. Demencia. Demencia is the protagonist villain of the show Villanos. She's very energetic, rebellious, mischievous, flirtatious, and a scatterbrain. She acts without thinking first, often causing many of the group's problems. Also, she can be very difficult and go directly against orders or rules. Demencia has intense cannibalistic tendencies too. Demencia is also pretty baity as a sexy woman, so probably also bait, I don't know. As I mentioned before, Demencia is often shipped with Black Hat, except she is canonly in love with him. She has no page on either Sexypedia, but I'm gonna guess I.E. Mercury as at least one of her tropes. Amelia Hughes, class Euclid. Amelia is a character from the cartoon series Infinity Train. She boarded the Infinity Trains before the events of the series, taking over as the conductor and spending many years attempting to build a car that would bring back her dead fiancé, and was terrorizing the inhabitants and neglecting the train. Apparently, she gained a large fan following due to her gilf appearance and intriguing background story. Some of her archetypes are girl boss, knife murderer, and MILF. Yukari Yakumo, class Euclid. Yukari Yakumo is a major character in the Toho project, having made multiple appearances as both a boss and playable character, as well as numerous appearances in the official manga. She's a yokai who possesses the ability to manipulate boundaries and is one of the sages responsible for creating the barrier that separated Gensokyo from the outside world over 100 years ago. Toho's relative obscurity in the West has limited her sexy womanification, but she still fits a lot of the primary traits. Some of her archetypes she has so many are angst, MILF, Johnlocked, urban legend aesthetic, non-human, Vriska archetype, among others. Evelyn Devor. Evelyn is the main antagonist of the Disney Pixar animated film Incredibles 2. She is the brainchild behind Winston's company as well as his sister and business partner. She shares her villain title with her puppet, the Screensaver, who unwillingly plays the masked villain in her plan to keep supers illegal forever due to past tragedies. She possesses no special power. She is a tech genius though. Initially, she appears loyal, kind-hearted, caring, and eager to help others. In reality, Evelyn is vengeful, cunning, hateful, bitter, mean-spirited, cold-hearted, and a ruthless person. Since she has no Sexypedia page, I looked for fan content and well, people seem to like how aloof she looks and ship her with Elastigirl. There's so much Evelyn fan art, oh my god, I didn't know about this. Sho Minamimoto, class Euclid. Sho is one of the secondary antagonists of the video game The World Ends With You and a main character in Neo The World Ends With You. He's an 18-year-old Reaper and part of the Reaper's game, a life or death game in which players complete missions sent out by the Game Master. He serves as the Game Master of Week 2. Sho is an arrogant and powerful adversary for the protagonist, constantly making a show of his superiority. His most prominent trait is his usage of excessive mathematical terms in conversations. I really can't find a lot of info about him as a sexy man. I do remember liking this character when I played the first game way too long ago. There's a decent amount of fan art of him out there, although in almost all of them he looks exactly like he does in canon. His archetypes are Chaos Lord, distinctive voice, monster features, power, and villain. Joshua Kiryu. Joshua is also a character from The World Ends With You series. After the main character Neku Sakuraba finishes the Reaper's game, he's told that he didn't win but he can play again. Joshua forms a pact with him, but Neku immediately doesn't like him. Spoiler alert, he's actually the villain. Joshua is what is known as a composer, someone who is the god of a small area on Earth. Joshua's composer status is limited to the Shibuya district of Tokyo. He has blonde, almost gray hair, which has led people to compare him to fellow sexy person Naito Komoera. Can't go too long without mentioning him, can we? Some of his archetypes are fourth wall blurring, all-powerful, and twist antagonist. Invader Sim, class safe. Sim is the titular character of the Invader Sim franchise. He was given a fake mission to invade a planet by Urk's leader, the Tallest, in an attempt to get rid of him. He instead stumbled across the previous unheard planet, Earth, and assumed the role of invading it. He meets resistance from Deep Membrane, a young paranormal investigator and his classmate at school. Deep wants nothing more than to capture him so he can prove aliens exist. The two quickly become mortal enemies. He's also accompanied by Gur, a malfunctioning robot that tallies purple made from trash as to not waste a real shirt unit robot on Sim. If you know me, I've been a huge Invader Sim fan since I was a kid, so I know a lot more about this fandom than I wish I did. And yeah, it's quite a thing. Sim is usually depicted as way nicer and sympathetic than he's in canon for the most part. Especially people who ship him with Dib. They tend to go for that enemies to friends to lovers trope. I will say, fandom depictions of Sim go from anywhere to him looking like his canon version to making him tall. Tallness is important to Urks, so by making him tall, they're technically sexifying him. For this and more reasons, I don't agree with him being classified as safe. If anything, I would say Euclid is a better classification. Sim isn't the only sexy man in this series. We will talk about Professor Membrane in the next video. What I will say is that I've never heard or seen Deep referred to as a sexy man, which is like fine. But like, Deep canonly is a tiny little gremlin boy. Like, look at him. And this is how he's drawn in a lot of fan art. You see the disconnect? You see what I mean? I'm just saying he has the tropes. I'm just mentioning it as something I noticed. Anyway, Sim's tropes are distinctive voice, urban legend aesthetic, and fandom splintering. General Yonen, class safe. General Yonen is a character from the animated series Amphibia. Despite having only one major appearance so far, General Yonen has garnered a noticeable amount of attention, thus earning the spot of a safe class sexy woman. She is a nude with sharp teeth, whitish blonde hair, and maybe kinda sounds like a British accent. So yeah, sexy women material, I get it. Tropes include power, anthro, and knife murder. Jason Dean, class Keter. Jason J.D. Dean is the main antagonist of the Heathers. He is a bad boy rebel and the love interest of the protagonist Veronica Sawyer. They team up to get revenge on the clique of the Queen Bees, the Heathers, that Veronica is a part of, and some asshole jocks. Things go horribly wrong when Heather Chandler is murdered and her death is covered up as a suicide. According to Sexypedia, there's not much of a fandom surrounding movie JD. Musical JD, however, has been turned into a slushy-loving, precious ooh-bean type character. His archetypes include white, twisted freaking psychopath, and angst. Sephiroth, class Euclid. Sephiroth is the main antagonist of the video game Final Fantasy VII and one of the primary antagonists in its extended universe. He's one of the older, pre-modern, internet proto-sexy men and arguably one of the first victims of the power of love trope. He starts off in Final Fantasy VII as a hero who eventually, when discovering the truth about what he is, becomes the main villain aiming to destroy the planet. Sephiroth is frequently shipped with Cloud, the protagonist, and it was popular to make content of him falling in love and being redeemed by either Cloud or someone's OC. Sephiroth's theme, One-Winged Angel, is probably one of the most famous boss fight themes in video game history, which leads to another popular sexy man trope, the One-Winged Angel. He is the origin of this trope. He powers up in this way quite frequently. The wing he's depicted with in the newer titles is based off of his original boss fight. One-Winged Angel trope now refers to when the sexy man canonically has an altered powered up form they use at some point, usually during a boss fight. It doesn't have to strictly include a visible character design change, only be recognizable at some sort of powered up or going all out state. So yeah, we owe a lot of sexy man traits to Sephiroth and Final Fantasy. Also, let's not forget he's a tall, pale man with long white hair and a black coat that murders a lot of people. Most famously, Aerith with a katana known as the Masamune. Truly a proto-sexy man. Archetypes include One-Winged Angel, Power of Love, and Angst. Vex, class safe. Vex is the antagonist of Sackboy, A Big Adventure. He is a being born of chaos and fear. Using nightmares and a force called the Uproar, he's all-powerful. In the opening cutscene, he rips the sky open over the town of Loom and kidnaps all the townspeople except Sackboy to build his topsy-turvy, a device made to turn Crawford into a world of nightmares. He looks like Jack Skellington, Oogie Boogie, and the clown with the tearaway face had a lot child. Or just a jester, I guess. It seems that fanart portrays him as he looks and doesn't try to humanize him too much. Some of his archetypes include burden, dominating, and British. Plankton. Sheldon J. Plankton is an antagonist of the cartoon SpongeBob SquarePants. Plankton is egotistical, aggressive, and power-hungry, and very jealous of Mr. Krabs and his success. His only goal through the series is stealing the Krabby Patty secret formula and running Mr. Krabs out of business. He thinks that by stealing the secret formula, he will become so successful that he will be able to rule the world. Now, the thing that probably separates Plankton from most of the other sexy men on this chart is the SpongeBob musical. They basically made Plankton into a sexy man themselves by having an actor play him and having said actor look like literal sexy man bait. Kinda like Dr. Robotnik, actually. That's my new ship. Eggman, played by Jim Carrey, and Plankton from the SpongeBob musical. Expect fan content. I'm kidding. Oh my god. As I was saying, don't get me wrong. There was plenty of fan content of Plankton before this, but give him an actor that looks like many of the sexy men tropes definitely help him solidify his position as one. Dr. Horrible. Dr. Horrible is the villain and main protagonist of Dr. Horrible's sing-along vlog, played by Neil Patrick Harris. I actually wrote the script and then watched it because I hadn't watched it in years, and I just want to say, Billy is an incel. That's all I'm gonna say. He's the alter ego of Billy and he's trying to join the evil league of evil. Billy is primarily motivated by a desire to make drastic social change in the world by putting the powers in his own hands. While physically unimposing, Dr. Horrible possesses a genius-level intellect and understanding of geology that surpasses most. Dr. Horrible's sing-along vlog was a very popular series back when they came out like 13 years ago since it was recreated. Written and directed by Joss Whedon, earning many awards. Due to its popularity, there's a ton of fan work out there. Watch it again. I'm sure this is not like an unpopular opinion, but Billy's an incel. Just rewatch it and let me know if you think that too. I can't be the only one. Okay, I'm gonna guess some of his tropes are intelligence, mad scientist, and angst. Wilson. Class Euclid. Wilson Percival Hicksbury is the main protagonist of the indie game Don't Starve. Wilson was a scientist who one day heard a strange voice on his radio that told him if you build a machine for them, he will be rewarded with secret knowledge. So he agrees. After building the portal, the voice, Maxwell, told him to flip the switch and he was transported into the Constant, the world in which Don't Starve takes place and where he must survive. The game has a burden-esque aesthetic. Wilson is a skinny pale scientist who wears a silly vest and a collared shirt. So yeah, prime sexy man material. Fanart does accentuate all of those sexy man archetypes, and there's a lot of it. Archetypes are burden, mad scientist, pale twink, intelligence, and suit guy. Maxwell. Class Euclid. Maxwell is the main antagonist of Don't Starve and a playable character on Don't Starve Together after being freed from the Night Throne by Wilson Hicksbury in the original adventure. William Carter was a poor, naive magician who desired to be famous through any means possible. After a train crash, he came into the possession of the Codex Umbra, opening a door to a whole new world of dark magic. This brought with it the show personality of an egotistic and charismatic master of dark magic under the name Maxwell, and he was able to improve his shows. I didn't mention this in the previous entry, but Maxwell and Wilson are often shipped together, even though they can't stand each other in canon. Which honestly, isn't that like the mark of a ship consisting of sexy men? Much like Wilson, he's a tall, skinny white man with Burton-esque aesthetic and is depicted as such in fanon work. Some of his archetypes are intelligence, dilf, and retro. Emmett Solch, Class Euclid. Forgive me for everything I'm about to butcher and mispronounce and I'm so sorry Final Fantasy people. I'm so sorry. Emmett Selch is a character from Final Fantasy XIV Online. He is the primary antagonist of the third expansion, Shadowbringers. He is an Amortoni, an ancient race, and an Asian, I don't know, a mysterious cult dedicated to reviving the Amoritines. I am so sorry. God, more words I can't pronounce. As Solusus Galvus, Emmett Selch was founder and the first emperor of the Garlean Empire. Many people ship him with the player character, the Warrior of Light, whose ancient counterpart from the distant past he knew and was close with. His character is so popular that even the director and producer Naoki Yoshida has expressed surprise over his Sexyman popularity. He has so many of the archetype, kind of feels like Sephiroth walk, so Emmett Selch could run. Among his archetypes we have monster features, eldritch, and twisted freaking psychopath. Midas, class Euclid. Midas is a legendarily obtainable skin from Fortnite Battle Royale. Little information about him is given beyond the fact that he has a controllable version of the Midas touch. Do you ever see a character and you're like, ah yes, he will become a sexy man? I'm pretty sure that I said that about Raymond, and look at them, they're like the same. Midas is like human version of Raymond. His popularity is not super widespread as the vast majority of fans are heterosexual men. There is, however, said to be a small female and LGBT+ group who has taken an interest in him. Sexy men archetypes include Purple, Theme Song, and Dilf. Yes, Dilf, because apparently it was revealed that Jules is Midas' daughter. Gordon Freeman. Dr. Gordon Freeman is the main protagonist of the Half-Life series. He's a theoretical physicist forced to defend himself and the human race in a conflict against hostile aliens and other enemies after a failed experiment caused a worldwide alien invasion. In the process, Freeman becomes an almost legendary resistance hero, eventually rising to be one of the key leaders in the war against an interdimensional empire. Now, I'm not sure if Gordon Freeman is in this chart because of Half-Life VR, but the AI is self-aware, which I mentioned before when we were talking about Ben Ray, or it has anything to do with Half-Life Alyx coming out in 2020, giving the franchise a boost in its already super big popularity. There is also a lot of fan content of him and a lot of him and Alyx too. Dr. Facilier, class safe. Dr. Facilier, also known as the Shadow Man, is the main antagonist of Disney animated feature film The Princess and the Frog. He's an evil Bokor who plans to rule New Orleans with the help from his friends on the other side. Since his inception, he has garnered critical acclaim and popularity with fans, making him one of Disney's most popular villains. However, it must be noted that he's an inaccurate and offensive representation of voodoo, a real-life religion. Looking through fan art, I can see that people really like gender bending him. For the most part, he's drawn like he looks in canon, with a few outliers of anime boy looking fan art. Gender bend Dr. Facilier just seems to be someone they put his clothes and aesthetics on top. For his archetypes, we have villain, quotable catchphrases, and theme song. Mystery Burns, class safe. Mystery Burns is a character from Doll Eye, an indie psychological horror RPG, although they're best known from the animation meme community. I don't want to get into too much detail because the page puts a trigger warning for mentions in child, so I would say if you're curious to do your own research. Their real name is Victor Burns, and they are an oriental long-haired cat and the main antagonist in Doll Eye. They are a tall, dull-colored purple cat with a beard. They pretend to be a doctor and kidnap people to use as patients despite having little to no training in the medical field. Mystery originally rose to prominence during the peak of the animation community in late 2018 and is considered one of the most iconic characters from the fandom. Back then, they were simply known for being one of Twisted Doctor's character, previously known as Sleepy King, who was featured in entry tweening animation with the occasional wholesome uwu type animation. The Sleepy King fandom was therefore a mix of edgelord furries and kids precious beanifying them. Please note that those are not my words, I have no idea what any of this is. Mystery was redesigned to their current design and the hype died down, but there's still apparently many people who have them as a comfort character. Archetypes include dominating, knife murder, and tongue imagery. Queequeg. I'm gonna be honest. What? Queequeg is a character in the 1851 novel Moby Dick by American author Herman Melville. The son of a South Sea chieftain who left home to explore the world, Queequeg, which I only know how to pronounce thanks to a series of unfortunate events, is the first principal character encountered by the narrator Ishmael. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, because I am very confused. Apparently people ship Ishmael and Queequeg, which I get. They do snuggle in bed. Researching this, I found a paper on JSTOR.org called Melba's Portrait of Same-Sex Marriage in Moby Dick by Stephen B. Herman. And it's about how Ishmael and Queequeg are like the first portrayal of same-sex marriage in American literature. And now I'm here sitting down thinking, do I need to reread Moby Dick? Because I read that in like 7th grade, but I can't for the life of me remember anything other than a whale. And that's probably because of that Tom and Jerry episode. So my next step was looking for fan contents, because you can't be a sexy man without fan contents, can you? And to my surprise, there is a lot of Quishmail art out there. I took it a step further and went into the Moby Dick section in AO3. And they are the #1 relationship with 65 whole works, which consider there only 108 under Moby Dick. Well, that's over half of it. I guess you learn something new every day. Do I need to reread Moby Dick? Because I haven't. Am I rereading Moby Dick? I mean, I reread Frankenstein and it blew my mind, so I should probably reread freaking Moby Dick. Mal, class Euclid. Mal is one of Mike's 5 alters and the main antagonist of Total Drama All-Stars. He was first introduced when Mike was knocked unconscious after being hit in the head with a shovel. After Mike was knocked out, Mal locked away Mike's other alters and proceeded to break the important objects that belonged to Mike's friends. Eventually, Mal gained full control of Mike's body and pretended to be him for the majority of the season. Total Drama is a very niche franchise, and his debut season was widely hated by the fandom. This is why Mal probably never reached higher sexy man status. He did have quite a few fangirls. Mal fans were sort of infamous in the fan base during 2013 to 2014. Many of the fan content has been lost to time, but you can still find some around. Mal is sort of a joke in the fandom nowadays because of how overly edgy he was. He was also shipped with Alejandro, but it had very few people into it. I also want to add that Mike has dissociative identity disorder, and Mal is one of his alters, but there's no real depth to this, and he's just out there to be evil. This is a very harmful stigma that surrounds the DID community, so good he never got popular, fuck that. Archetypes include Chaos Lord, Distinctive Voice, and Eye Imagery, among others. Hexadecimal, class Safe. Hexadecimal is the secondary antagonist of the animated TV series Reboot. The self-proclaimed Queen of Chaos, Hexadecimal is a powerful virus with the need to create as much chaos as possible. Hexadecimal is voiced by Shirley Milner, who can easily go from sexy muttering to horrifying screeches. Like fellow sexy woman Harlequin, she's heavily modeled and inspired by Harlequins, as seen by her mask and headpiece. Despite the show being nearly 30 years old, oh my god, her status as similar sexy woman is undeniable. Some of her tropes are villain, distinctive voice, and clown. The narrator, class Euclid. The narrator is the major character in the video game The Stanley Parable. His role varies depending on the player's decisions. He starts off as a simple narrator, describing the actions of the player's character, Stanley. However, you as the player have no obligation to follow the story the narrator describes. The narrator has a wide range of emotions and narrative roles through the story. He has no canon appearance, but we know that ain't stopping anyone. Fans frequently draw the narrator as a wide, often skinny man in a nice suit. He is often portrayed wearing a headset or speaking into a microphone. Some fans took the Tyre Writer aesthetic for his portrayals. He's often either shipped with Stanley, who is more or less an OC, but there's also crossover ships with sexy woman GLaDOS. Some of his archetypes include distinctive voice/British, or powerful, fourth wall blurring, and John Locke. Gideon Graves, class Neutralize. Gideon Graves is the main antagonist of the graphic novel series Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He is Ramona's Flower's 7th evil ex-boyfriend, and the leader and founder of the League of Ramona's evil ex-boyfriends. Gideon isn't seen much through the series except for a blurry picture taken by Wallace and briefly shown in the shadows. He is an epic mastermind genius and inventor. As a villain, Gideon is portrayed as a stereotypical evil mastermind. He is rich, intelligent, and extremely arrogant. He's normally cool and collected and tends to plan ahead, but he's easily angered when his plans don't come to fruition. Gideon would have been a safe bet to become a sexy man if the comics had been released later in time. Some of his archetypes are capitalist, well-dressed, and night murder. The Mask, class Neutralize. The Mask, also known as Stanley Ipkiss, is the main and title character of the movie The Mask, played by Jim Carrey. There's also the Mask graphic novels, but we're concentrating on the movie right now, I guess. Stanley Ipkiss is an awkward, shy, and unlucky bank teller. Everyone treats him like a klutz besides his dog. It isn't until he's rejected from entering a club where his love interest is planning to perform that things get wild. Stanley finds a wooden mask, not knowing it's a depiction of the Norse god Loki, and puts it on. The mask, according to the wiki, has, quote, every single one of Jim Carrey's and the Looney Tunes personality traits. He's fond of causing chaos and stopping local crime. There is a decent amount of Mask-esque reader fanfiction on Wattpad, but there isn't an established fandom per se. No one seems to actively fawn over him except a small group of people. In another timeline, he might have been a sexy man. You know, I feel like if they ever remake or reboot The Mask as a movie or maybe a series on like Netflix or HBO, and they mix the vibes of the movies with more of the dark tones and graphic violence of the comics, The Mask could turn into a real sexy man. Archetypes include quotable catchphrases, chaos lord, and tongue imagery. And that is the last sexy person for today. We're 4 tiers into this iceberg and still have 4 to go. This video was way longer than the last one, but there were a lot more sexy people to discuss. So yeah, I'll continue the rest of this in the next video. Not sure when that will be since the last 4 tiers are also pretty thick, and compiling them all and recording that editing is just a lot. If you didn't see your favorite sexy person on this video, they might be on the next one. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it, and if you're new, make sure you subscribe. I can't even tell you what I do videos on these days because I don't even know. Sometimes they're mostly art and internet related, so hang out with us if you want. I also stream on Twitch if you want to see these speed paints done in real time. That's where you should go, and sometimes I play video games too. If you have any suggestions for topics, you can leave them here or on any social media I have on the description. So be sure to check those out for that and updates about videos, about art, and other stuff. Thank you for watching. Special thanks to my patrons who somehow stick around even with the lack of content these past few months. And yeah, see you next time. Have a good day, good night, and good fight. Bye.